All right, let's jump right in and tackle one of the most fundamental ideas in all of physics and a huge part of your grade 12 syllabus. What exactly is a force?
You see forces at work all around you, every single day. Sometimes it's super obvious, like the massive shove you need to get a heavy scrum machine moving on the field.
And sometimes they're completely invisible, like that kind of magical pull a magnet has on a paperclip, lifting it up without even touching it.
Okay, so a big push, an invisible pull. What's the connection here? What common thread links these two things together? What are we really talking about when we say the word force?
Well, in physics, we get very specific. A force is any kind of push or pull that has the potential to change something about an object, its motion, its shape, or the direction it's headed. You can almost think of force as the engine for all change in the universe.
So, we know what a force is, but what can it actually do? Let's dig a little deeper into the specific effects a force can have on an object.
For one, a force can totally change an object's shape. Think of squishing a piece of clay. But for us, and for studying motion, what's really crucial is that a force can get something moving from a standstill, or bring a moving object to a complete stop. It can also make it speed up. That's what we call acceleration. Or it can knock it off its path and change its direction entirely.
Okay, so there are all these different kinds of pushes and pulls. It sounds like it could get pretty complicated, right? Well, thankfully for us, physicists have sorted this whole zoo of forces into just two main categories. And it all comes down to one simple question. Do the objects actually have to touch? On one hand, you have your contact forces. As the name suggests, these only work when objects are physically touching each other. Think about friction. And on the other hand, you have the really wild ones, non-contact forces. These are the spooky ones that can act across empty space, like gravity pulling you to the Earth right now.
Now, this is where things get really practical. There's a handful of specific forces that you are going to see over and over and over again in your physics problems. Let's meet the A-listers.
This table is basically your cheat sheet. Let's run through them. You've got the normal force. That's the upward push from a surface that stops you from falling through the floor. Then there's friction, the force that always fights against motion. An applied force is just your standard direct push or pull. Tension is that specific pulling force you get in a rope or a string. And finally, weight, which is just the special name we give to the force of gravity. Getting comfortable with these is going to be a game changer for you. Now, of all those forces we just met, there's one that can be a little sneaky, and that's friction. The reason it's tricky is because it acts differently depending on whether something is moving or just sitting still. So picture this. You're trying to push a really heavy box across the floor. You give it a little push, and nothing happens. That's static friction pushing back with the exact same force. You push harder, and then, bam! It suddenly lurches forward and starts to slide. You just broke through the maximum static friction. And now that it's moving, it's actually a bit easier to keep it going. That's because you're now working against kinetic friction, which is usually weaker than that initial static friction you had to overcome.
Okay, to really solve problems and understand what's happening, we can't just talk about a big push or a little pull. We need to be more precise. We have to speak the language of physics.
And here is probably the single most important thing to remember about force. It's not just a number. It is a vector.
So what on earth does that mean? It's actually pretty simple. It just means that anytime you talk about a force, you have to describe two things. Its magnitude, which is just a fancy word for its size or strength, and its direction, which way is it pointing? Saying a force of 10 newtons isn't enough. You have to say a force of 10 newtons to the right. That's a complete description. To show that we're talking about force as a vector, we write the symbol F with a little arrow over the top. That arrow is just a constant reminder. Hey, don't forget about the direction. And when we measure the magnitude or the strength of a force, what unit do we use? Well, the standard international unit is the Newton, named after the man himself, Sir Isaac Newton. We just use a capital N as the symbol.
But what even is 1 Newton of force? Here's the official definition. It's the amount of force you would need to take a 1 kilogram mass and cause it to accelerate at a rate of 1 meter per second every second. Now, in the real world, it's super rare for an object to have just one force acting on it. Usually, there's a whole bunch of them pushing and pulling at the same time. So we need a way to figure out what the overall effect is. We call this the resultant force, or more commonly, the net force. Let's make this really simple. Imagine that box again. One person is pushing to the right with 4 newtons of force. At the same time, someone else is pushing to the left with 6 newtons. It's a tug of war. The forces are opposing each other. So the net result, the overall winner, is a 2 Newton force to the left.
That's the force that's actually going to cause the box to move.
And that's why getting a really solid grip on these fundamental ideas, what a force is, the different types, and especially this idea of a net force, is just so important.
Because if you truly understand force, you've basically just been handed the key to unlock the next massive topic in your syllabus, Newton's laws of motion. It all builds on this. So I'll leave you with a little thought experiment. Just imagine, for a second, a world with absolutely zero friction. Think about your day so far. What's a simple, everyday thing you do that would suddenly become totally impossible?